All right, we might be live streaming already, so just in case we are.
It says live.
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to give anything away for next week.
Right before.
So, but we're live, but the link hasn't been shared. So,
are we gonna do that part?
Or are we gonna share the link? We are. This is just always the awkward. There we go. This is always the awkward beginning where we just have to talk for a minute while I share the link. So.
Well, let's have everyone pick their A24 quarantine houses while we wait. That's what people want to see.
It's so true. All right.
Hey.
Nobody's on yet, but we're just going to get started. This is QUARANSCREENPLAYS, episode 4.
Woo, Quattro.
And thank you for everyone who's been watching. Last week, like 60 people watched. Not like at the same time, but later on, we got like 60 views. So we're super grateful for that. Once again, the fact that anyone is watching at all massively exceeds our expectations. So we're very, very grateful. I am Austin with 3 of my dearest friends in the whole wide world, Jordan, Ryan, and Max. And QUARANSCREENPLAYS is the show where every week we pick a different unproduced screenplay that one of us or multiple of us have written throughout our lives that has, for some reason, for one reason or another, gone unproduced.
Tears in the rain.
Like tears in rain.
No one can a script.
Isn't that was improvised, right?
Yeah, it is. It makes me angry and it makes me think everybody's lying about it.
Yeah, it's too good of a line. Nothing in the script we read tonight is nearly as good as what Rutger Hauer made up for that scene in Blade Runner. Tonight we are reading Max and I's Zomboni. And the title might be slightly better than the movie itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Just imagine a heavy synth soundtrack.
Do you have the soundtrack?
There is one song that's been written for this movie.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
I asked you about that.
And here's the thing. We're just going to get into it, not to the script. We're just going to get into talking about it because this episode I feel like is a little different. I don't want to speak out of place, but I think out of all the scripts we've read so far, this is the one that the people who wrote it are still planning on making it at some point. This script is this is a first draft of a first draft. But it is an idea that I would like to see across the goal line, as it were, at some point. And so I'm actually interested in people's response to this, just in terms of what they think is working, what isn't, because this is a script I'm going to go back and hone in the coming, let's be honest, probably years. But this is an idea I've had for a while, and I am excited, if a bit nervous, about sharing it because while there is quite a bit of silliness in it, it's not meant to be maybe quite as silly as the scripts we've read so far.
Or as the title would at all imply.
Oh, absolutely. So the conceit of the movie, or at least something I think that's important, going into it, is that it is, I would describe it as an homage to 80s slasher horror films. As you listen, I would say the one that it most obviously parallels is Stephen King's and then John Carpenter's Christine. And so, yeah, it's an old school 80s horror movie about a Zomboni that comes to life and starts killing people. But it's not meant to be a parody. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
You want to say how you came up with the idea?
You mean just thinking of the word Zomboni?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a movie where the title was written before the movie was. I remember just thinking of the title Zomboni, which of course I'm going to spoon feed everybody, is just zombie and Zamboni together. If that blows anybody's mind. But I thought that, and I thought there's no way that there hasn't already been a movie called this. I just thought it was a great idea for a movie. It has such great 80s vibes. And then there wasn't that, so I decided to write it. Well, I decided to write it probably about 3 years before I ever put a single word down on the page. And then the script we read tonight was written in 2018, and I would say it was written in roughly 1 day. And that will be very apparent as we read it, that this is a 1-day script.
Because Austin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happened is you and I were working on a different script. This is how I remember it.
Okay,
We were
yeah.
on a different script and we were stuck. And we did what all great, we did what's that guy's name? Arthur Conrad? Joseph Conrad.
Who's that?
The guy who wrote Heart of Darkness. He wrote Heart of Darkness, the movie that the Apocalypse Now is based on, while writing another thing. He put that
I
down.
was thinking of Army of Darkness, which is
Different.
the Evil Dead sequel.
Yes, very different. He wrote Heart of Darkness as like a mental break from a bigger work that he was working on. Austin and I were working on a feature, and we were stuck on that, and we wrote this in between that.
Yeah, so this was sort of a creative exercise. And so, yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how this goes. We decided to do this script pretty last minute. I'll be honest that I was playing it a little close to the vest and wasn't super eager to put this one out there, but we're going to do it.
Glad you're doing it.
I think it'll be fun, but because it's so last minute, we were not able to recruit any other actors. There are, first of all, way too many people for the 4 of us to play, but we are going to do it. And the lead character is a woman, and I really wanted to get an actress to come on to do that. But because of our time restraints, Max will be playing our lead character, Janet.
And as anyone could tell you, I will be a sorry replacement for a woman.
It's very true, but you're the only one who could do it because that's your mom's name.
It is my mom's name, and that's how we decided.
Actually, you just seemed pretty excited to do it.
Well,
So let's go around the horn real quick and say what we're all going to be doing. I will be reading the scene description, of which there is quite a bit in this script. Some might argue too much, but we'll see. And then I will have a very small part as Will, the police chief, later on in the script.
I will be playing Jeremy and Lee, the ice rink owner, and then I will also be playing Reggie.
I will be playing Janet, and I will also be playing Stacy, and I will be playing a soldier, which sounds confusing out of context with a film like this.
I will be playing Gary, the coach. I will be playing Harold, which is the ice rink employee, I believe. And then General Matthews, which he's a general.
Yeah, I'm excited because Jordan and I have not read this script yet. So
No,
Or maybe
This
you
is,
have.
this is
I
either
haven't.
going to be a lot of fun or this is going to be an abject disaster.
it's going to be fun.
I think my biggest fear
It's
is
gonna
that
be fun.
it's boring to read, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, that's a concern.
Thank you,
That's
Max.
always a concern.
No,
That's
it's
always
going
a
to be
concern.
that. It's going to be great.
For sure. So we're going to jump right in. It's also pretty long. It's too long. It's
18
both,
pages.
No,
it's
that's fine.
both way too long and way too short, but we'll talk about all that after we read it. So without further ado, Zomboni, written by yours truly and my dear Max Romanowski. Let's jump right in. Interior hockey rink night. We open on a crowded, dingy ice rink. The entire town of Slapneck, Michigan is turned out for the biggest event of 1985, the Slapneck 10 and Under Hockey Championship. The Mastodons are playing the Brook Trout. Exciting stuff. We're in the game's waning moments. It's all tied up 2-2. Janet Jepson watches nervously from the stands as her son, Benjamin, steals the puck and races towards the goal. The whole crowd is absolutely losing it.
Come on, Benji!
5 seconds to go. The other players scramble to catch him. No dice. Gary Parrish, the Brook Trout coach, is jumping up and down.
It's all you, Jepson.
4. The goalie positions himself to block the shot. 3. Ben pulls his stick back, poised to score. 2. Ben slips, losing control of the puck and colliding with the goalie. 1. The crowd gasps, craning to see what happened. A referee skates over. 0. The horn blares. We're going to overtime. Ben isn't getting up. Janet pushes her way through the stands and down to the ice. Gary follows suit. They slide their way over to the far end of the ice as fast as they can. The goalie, flat on his back, looks down at his skates. Blood drips slowly from one of the blades. Interior hockey rink night. Opening credits roll over shots of the empty ice rink and the Zamboni driver, Harold, resurfacing the ice. We watch as the machine passes over a dark, blood-stained patch of ice. End opening credits. Interior hockey rink lobby night. Harold walks through the rink's deserted lobby to the front entrance. Outside, 2 teenagers, Jeremy and Stacy, are peering in through the double doors, their breath fogging up the glass. Harold grabs the keys attached to his belt and uses one to unlock the door. Jeremy and Stacy practically barge their way inside.
Come on, man. It's cold. You said you were going to leave it unlocked.
Sorry about that. Keeps locking up on me.
Whatever, man.
Harold holds his hand out expectantly.
What?
Stacy elbows him hard in the ribs.
Ouch. Fine.
Jeremy produces a wrinkled $10 bill from his pocket and hands it over to Harold.
Thank you.
He pockets the money, then removes an extra key from his front shirt pocket and gives it to Jeremy.
Lock up when you're done, and then go around back and slide that under the employee entrance, okay?
Got it.
Harold doesn't let go of the key. He gives Jeremy a stern look.
I said I got it. Jeez.
He pulls hard. Harold relinquishes the key and heads for the door.
You kids have fun.
The door shuts behind him. Interior ice hockey rink locker room night. The Zamboni sits dormant amidst other equipment. Suddenly, it comes to life with a menacing roar. Its headlights glow bright. Interior hockey rink night. Jeremy and Stacy are out on the ice, chasing each other around. Jeremy eventually catches her. They slip, collapsing onto the ice in a giggling heap, Jeremy on top. He plants an epic, tongue-heavy kiss on her.
Skate for me.
Stacy laughs and playfully smacks him in the chest.
No, you perv.
Please.
He kisses her again.
You're such a weirdo.
POV. Through the glass surrounding the rink, something watches Jeremy and Stacy. End POV.
I love you, Stacy.
Promise?
Promise.
Cross your heart?
Jeremy crosses his heart.
Cross my heart and hope to die.
He leans up for another kiss, his hands disappearing under her shirt, right as the Zomboni slams into them. Stacy screams, but it's cut short. Interior bedroom night. Janet is fast asleep. She's laying on her side, a window behind her. Through the sheer curtains, headlights appear. They're distant at first, but quickly grow until they're bathing the entire room in blinding white light. The deafening shriek of an engine pierces the silence. Janet jolts awake. It's dark again. She sits up, her face caked in sweat. Exterior pond day. Janet sits in the middle of a small frozen pond behind her house. She traces shapes in the fresh dusting of snow. She looks back at the house, cradling her now pregnant stomach. Interior restaurant day. Janet sits in a booth in a sparsely populated local dive. She's sipping a cup of coffee. A bell announces someone's arrival. She looks up from her drink and sees Gary scanning the restaurant for her. She waves him over before standing up and greeting him with an awkward hug.
Hi.
Hi.
They sit down. It's painfully awkward. Janet takes another sip of coffee.
Are you allowed to drink coffee when you're...
His eyes glance down to her stomach.
It's 1 cup. I went in for my monthly yesterday, and Dr. Hill said everything looked normal.
Gary winces.
I thought you were going to tell me when you went in for that stuff.
Wasn't a big deal. Just a boring checkup.
It's a big deal to me. You don't have to...
I drove by the rink today.
Gary looks stunned.
It's all boarded up. Will told me they're planning to knock it down.
Jan, don't you think that's probably for the best? Going back won't do a lick of good.
Don't tell me what's best for me. He was my son.
Gary settles back into the booth. He knows he can't win.
What do you need me to do?
Exterior hockey rink day. Lee walks up to the condemned hockey rink. All the doors and windows are covered in plywood and surrounded by caution tape. Lee ducks under the tape, fishes his keys out of his pocket, and lets himself in. Interior hockey rink office day. Lee enters the rink's cramped office. He walks around the messy desk in the middle of the room and drags an ancient office chair over to a crowded bookshelf that runs along the back wall. He climbs on top of the chair and runs his hands along the top of the shelf until he finds what he's looking for. He hops down, a sawed-off shotgun in hand. Interior hockey rink concourse day. Lee slowly walks through the dark abandoned concourse, gun in hand. The whole place is giving off a creepy vibe, the only sound his footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. Interior hockey rink day. Lee emerges into the arena. He looks around at the empty bleachers. A fallen banner sits at his feet. He steps over it. He looks out onto the ice. A man is lying in the middle of the ice, unmoving. Lee lifts the gun and points it at the body.
Wakey, wakey. This here's private property. No squatters allowed. I could have you booked for trespassing in 8 minutes flat.
He pats the walkie-talkie clipped to his belt.
Hey, I'm coming out there. Stand up. Hands up in the air.
He opens a door in the wall and steps gingerly onto the ice, never taking his eyes off the man. He methodically makes his way over to the body. He pokes it with his gun. It's stiff as a board.
Well, shoot.
He reaches for his walkie. Suddenly, the Zomboni appears right behind him. It bumps him, knocking him over and sending the radio sliding across the ice.
Ah!
Lee shuffles backward toward the walkie as the Zomboni advances on him. Blam! He gets a shot off at his attacker, but it deflects harmlessly off the front grill. Blam! Another shot. Still nothing. Lee reaches the walkie. He picks it up, fumbling with the dial to turn it on. The Zomboni is almost right on top of him.
Reggie, get the boys to the rink. This thing's alive.
The Zomboni runs him over with a sickening crunch. Interior police station day. Reggie stares wide-eyed at the static spewing walkie-talkie on his cluttered desk. Exterior hockey rink day. Jan and Gary pull up outside the rink in a battered pickup truck. They park on the curb. Lee's car is the only other vehicle in the parking lot. They climb out of the truck and approach the entrance. They enter through the propped open door. It slams shut behind them. Interior hockey rink concourse day. Jana and Gary enter into the concourse. They look around. There's no sign of anyone.
Lee?
His shout echoes off the walls. They listen for a response. Nothing. Interior hockey rink. They enter the arena. Through the glass surrounding the ice, they see the mangled bodies. Janet screams.
Oh my God.
Gary hops onto the ice and races over to Lee's body. He drops to his knees and takes a pulse. Janet stares on, catatonic. Gary stands up, shuffles over to the other body, and repeats what he just did.
Are they?
Gary looks over at her, the look on his face telling her all she needs to know.
Oh, God. I drew that one out too far.
Gary stands up. As he rises, the Zomboni appears behind him. He doesn't notice it coming toward him as he makes his way off the ice.
Gary!
He spins around, the Zomboni mere feet away from him. He dives out of its path just in time. The Zomboni changes directions to chase him. Gary tries to get to his feet but slips and falls, rolling his ankle. He yells in pain. He tries to stand back up but collapses. He looks up. The Zomboni has blocked the exit. Gary and the machine stare each other down. After a moment, it starts advancing toward him. Janet leaps onto the back of it, almost losing her balance. She settles into the driver's seat, fumbling for the key to turn it off, but the ignition's empty.
Jan?
I'm trying. It won't.
She grabs the steering wheel and jerks it to the right, but it doesn't budge. Gary is army crawling away from the oncoming Zomboni. He reaches the opposite wall. Nowhere left to go. He looks over his shoulder. It's getting closer.
Jan!
Janet hops out of the seat and runs over to Gary, helping him get to his feet. They scurry out of the way right as the Zomboni crashes into the wall. Janet and Gary hobble off the ice and collapse onto the ground. Interior police station day. Reggie hurries up to a glass door and knocks. Inside, Will looks up from a mountain of paperwork. He waves Reggie in.
Chief, we have a problem.
Interior hockey rink day. Janet and Gary are now sitting in the bleachers. Janet examines Gary's ankle.
Does that hurt?
Gary grimaces.
Uh-huh.
How about that?
Another grimace.
Yep.
It's just a sprain.
You sure?
Not at all.
Janet stands up and looks out onto the ice. The Zomboni is resting at center ice, looking innocent.
You good to walk?
Interior hockey rink lobby day. Janet and Gary limp up to the rink's entrance. Gary's arms around Janet's shoulders. They reach the door. Janet reaches out and pulls on the handle. Nothing. Pulls harder. Nothing. She looks at Gary. Interior hockey rink day. A bulky ring of keys dangles from the belt loop of Lee's lifeless body. Janet and Gary are back at the entrance to the ice.
Any ideas?
1.
Interior hockey rink locker room day. Janet enters the dingy locker room. She goes through and starts opening the lockers, grabbing hockey sticks. Interior hockey rink. Janet and Gary are standing in the bleachers. They've lined up the hockey sticks and taped them together to form one long stick. Gary is attaching the final 2 with athletic tape. He takes a step back to admire their handiwork.
Ready?
Janet nods. Working together, they carry the sticks over to the ice and begin extending it across the ice toward the bodies. The Zamboni remains dormant. The end of the stick finally reaches Lee. Gary is able to position it around the keys. He yanks hard, but it doesn't catch. He tries again. No dice.
Come on.
He tries again. This time the keys catch on the stick, successfully ripping them from the belt loop.
Yes!
Gary carefully starts scooting the keys closer and closer to them. It's 20 feet away, then 15, 10. Suddenly, the Zomboni roars to life and smashes through the sticks, splintering them into a bunch of toothpicks and sending the keys flying to the other side of the ice.
No!
The Zomboni stalks around the ice, almost taunting them.
Is there any other way out of here?
Interior hockey rink office day. Garrett and Janet enter the office, making their way to a small window in the corner. Through the window, we see 2 police cars pull up in front of the building, lights on.
It's Will.
Exterior hockey rink day. Will climbs out of his cruiser. Reggie hops out the other side, gun already in hand.
Where should we start, Chief? You and Morris head in the front. Me and Willie take the...
What are you doing? Holster your weapon. Reggie hurriedly puts his gun away. We're not doing anything yet.
We don't even know what we're dealing with here.
I know. That's why I called in some favors. On cue, a tank rolls into the parking lot, followed by a series of military trucks. Uniformed soldiers pour out, heavily armed. They mean business. Interior hockey rink office day. Janet and Gary watch as General Matthews climbs out of his Humvee and surveys the scene.
Holy.
They're torching the place.
Exterior hockey rink. General Matthews approaches Will and Reggie, extending his hand. Will shakes it.
Chief Wilcox, I'm Evan Matthews.
Thanks for coming, General. This is Reggie.
Hey, so what do you got going on here?
Well, as far as we can tell, something inside this rink is killing any and every person that goes in. And frankly, my men aren't equipped for this sort of thing.
Have we identified who this something is?
Will and Reggie exchange a glance. That's the thing, sir.
We believe whatever's in there to be supernatural in origin.
General Matthews gives them a, "Are you messing with me?" look, but it's met with 2 faces that practically scream, "Nope, we're not messing with you." Interior hockey rink office day. Janet and Gary are banging on the window, but all the commotion outside seems to be drowning out the noise.
Help! Help!
Hey, Will.
Their cries go unacknowledged.
Okay, stand back.
He grabs the office chair and hurls it against the window. It bounces off harmlessly. Interior hockey rink lobby day. Janet and Gary run up to the entrance doors and start banging on them.
I shouldn't have let you talk me into this. I knew coming back here was...
He turns around to face Janet, but she's gone.
Janet? Janet!
He runs toward the arena. Interior hockey rink. Janet is taking her first step onto the ice. Gary stops when he sees her, horrified. She sprints across the ice, the Zomboni already roaring in hot pursuit. A few feet away from the keys, Janet drops to her knees and gracefully slides to them, effortlessly scooping them up and jumping to her feet. She makes her way to the exit, but the Zomboni cuts her off. Gary watches, helpless. Exterior hockey rink day. Will, Reggie, and General Matthews are still circled up. A soldier approaches.
General, we're ready when you are.
Matthews turns to Will, who nods.
It's go time.
Yes, sir.
He salutes and runs off, shouting unintelligible jargon to the other soldiers. The tank's cannon repositions. It's now aimed right at the rink. Suddenly, Janet and Suddenly, Janet and Gary burst through the front door, waving wildly. Wait! General Matthews holds his hand up in a stop motion. Everything stops. Will runs up to Janet and Gary. Oh my God. Are you okay? Is there anyone else inside?
We're fine. And no, we were the only ones.
Reggie, drive these two to the station and have Maurice take a look at Gary's ankle.
You got it.
Reggie opens the door to the police car and ushers them inside. They peel away. Janet watches the rink growing smaller in the rearview mirror.
So what is that thing?
What? It's the Zamboni. I don't know.
What is it? Like possessed or something?
Janet shuts her eyes.
Stop.
They don't hear her.
Stop the car.
Reggie slams on the brakes.
Okay.
What's going on?
I have to go back in.
No, absolutely not. Why?
She doesn't respond, but somehow he seems to understand, realization washing over his face. He hugs her, tears forming in his eyes.
But what if...
I'm coming back.
Gary kisses her softly, then leans down and kisses her stomach.
I love you both.
We love you too.
Exterior hockey rink day. The police car reverses back in front of Matthews and Will. Janet hops out.
I'm going back in.
I don't think so.
Will, please.
I'm sorry, Janet. That's not a risk I'm willing to take.
Fine. Gary, keys.
Lee's keys come flying out of the open window of the police car. Janet catches them and takes off running for the door. She stops at the entrance for a split second and turns around.
10 minutes. If I'm not back out here, blow it all to hell.
And with that, she unlocks the door and disappears inside. Interior, hockey rink day. Janet enters the arena. The Zomboni is already on the ice, waiting for her. She steps on the ice. The machine immediately makes a beeline for her, going faster than we've seen it go thus far.
Benji?
It's getting closer.
Benjamin?
Closer. It's about to hit her.
Benjamin Arnold Jebsen.
The Zomboni slams to a stop, inches away from Janet's face. She gently places her hand on the front of the machine and softly caresses it. She's crying.
Oh, Benji, I'm so sorry. Everything I got so mad about, it all seems so stupid now. I'm sorry I told you that you'd think hockey was fun. I miss you so much, Benji.
She touches her stomach.
You would have been the best big brother in the whole wide world.
She presses her face against the Zomboni.
It's a girl. You're going to have a sister. I'm going to tell her all about you. Your smile, your laugh, all of it. I love you, Benji.
The Zomboni falls silent. Its lights go out. Exterior hockey rink. Janet emerges from the building. Gary runs up and hugs her, lifting her off the ground. He sets her back down and steps back, holding her face in his hands.
Was it?
Janet nods. Gary hugs her again.
It's going to be okay now.
Will, Reggie, and the soldiers surround them as they hold their embrace. Pure peace in the midst of chaos. Exterior house, dusk. Gary's truck pulls up outside of Janet's house. Janet climbs out and turns around to lean in the open passenger side window.
Can I see you tomorrow?
Janet smiles.
We should go on a trip.
Janet exhales, her breath visible.
Someplace warm.
Gary winks, puts the truck in gear, and pulls away. Janet walks over to the pond and looks at it. She slowly walks out to the middle and sits down on the smooth, glossy ice. Fade to black.
Whoa.
There it is.
Yes.
Tony.
Well done. I liked it.
Man,
In
Hey,
defense,
that's great. Yeah.
I like it.
it's a visual movie, you know?
Hey,
it is a very visual movie.
I like that.
Yeah, I was tracking with it the whole time. That was great. Great scene description, and it flows. It just flows.
I'm glad you said that. It's definitely interesting to read because one of the things that I didn't touch on earlier is that I've always envisioned it as a feature.
I think
And
it
so-
works really well as a short.
What?
I appreciate that. That actually makes me feel better. Like, it could work as a short. There's
Like-
definitely
Like from what we read, I think obviously it needs to be fleshed out, but it would work as a short, and I also think it could work as a feature.
yeah. I think the big thing that's tough for me is everything escalates so quickly, but some of that can sort of work within the 80s horror motif.
Oh yeah.
Which is where the army stuff comes in, like the idea that like you had to
For
call
sure. Like it obviously accelerates to such like a high degree so quickly.
Yeah.
Like that makes me laugh, just how we go from these 2 police cars to just the whole army showing up immediately.
That's great. That is.
I like the convenience of it too, which I think you see in a lot of 80s movies, which is just like, I know a guy, it's fine. I can get the whole military to show up. Don't think about it. Don't think about it too hard.
I like the idea that, I mean, it's brutal, but her son passing away, like that just, it makes sense. And then, I mean, it makes sense in the sense of a horror film, like
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I enjoy how sentimental that the scene where she's out on the ice talking to it like it's her son.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy this if you do it right. And man, you have, no offense to Max, you have to have an amazing actress to pull that scene off.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you're gonna have someone act with an inanimate Zamboni.
For sure. And that's, I think so much of the movie hinges on getting someone talented enough to make that scene feel emotional. Because I love that it is this mixture of very sentimental and very silly at the same time.
Yeah.
But if that scene works, I think the rest of the movie would work. And some of that would rely on improving the dialogue. This, like, the biggest thing that I have an issue with, like, read it through, is like, man, the dialogue was obviously written very quickly. It needs to be punched up quite a bit.
One thing I think I really liked was that the classic, 2 people get killed before the movie kind of starts.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a hill you were very willing to die on, Austin. Not that I was resistant to it. I just remember being like, it has to start like this.
For sure. Well, I had this idea in my head. Well, starting with like the title sequence, that first image I had in my head was the idea of like a bloodstained patch of ice and then a Zamboni going over it. That's like such an evocative image to me.
Yeah.
And because of the context we're in, everything about what happens from that moment. Like the Zamboni coming to life, all of that like makes sense because of that moment. And I always really, really liked that. And then there was something so interesting to me about it being a child. Like, starting the movie with the death of a child is a pretty big swing to take.
I think they called them slap shots.
They call what slap shots? Nice. Oh, I got it. Yeah. I gotcha.
Okay.
But like what that did was it set up, I liked the idea of Janet being the hero in a way where she definitely is the one who ends up taking charge of the situation, like doing the saving was always the direction I wanted it to go. My dad, this is a pretty astute, my dad says it's Christine meets Monster House.
The Dan Harmon influences are never ending, huh?
I mean, I can't get away from it. But yeah, like I mean, reading it through, I do think it flows better than I imagined it would.
Yeah.
But it's really the dialogue that, what's really funny is this is the movie that like doesn't exist, but quite a bit of effort has been put into it in a couple ways. The first thing that I want to show you all. So for my birthday last year, Max knows how much I love this idea. And so Max made me a poster for the movie which I have since printed off and now is in my home. So this is the Zomboni poster for the movie that doesn't exist. The tagline is "Stay off of the ice," and so I love looking at this. I think it's so well done, and it really kind of captures the vibe we were going for. It also, one thing that I like about the "Stay off the ice," it sort of captures. So one of the cliches in 80s horror movies especially is people being in situations that they could have so easily removed themselves from.
Yeah.
And so obviously in this case, it's just don't go on the ice. The Zomboni can't leave the ice. It never leaves the ice.
Just
If you're
on the
not
ice.
on the ice, you will not die.
I like how they're sitting in the bleachers, like
Yeah,
mending his wound, and it's fine.
for sure.
'Cause
Exactly.
that's,
Like,
yeah, it makes sense.
yeah, it's
Which
such.
is where the key motif came in, or the key, like, Chekhov's
Yeah.
gun. Because we were like, well, why would they go back on the ice, those idiots?
Yeah, so that was
That
something
makes a lot of sense.
Max, that's something you and I ran into early on, which was
Yeah.
we have to find a compelling reason for them to go on the ice.
Well, and that's one of the best scenes is when he rolls his ankle.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah, and he had to be hurt too. That was part of it because
Yeah.
it was so vivid in my imagination. Like I could just see him struggling and her trying to help. And the Zomboni is just after him. I love
Yeah,
it.
like I think there's a lot of tension you can build there
Oh yeah.
in a cool way.
Can Janet at the last scene find a pair of skates that she puts on?
Oh, that's such a good idea. Why is no one on skates in this movie?
Yeah,
that does feel like
I did think about that. I was like,
Oh, such a good idea.
She goes back to the son's locker and finds a pair of skates.
Well, to be fair, he's under 10 years old.
yeah,
His feet would be so small.
yeah.
Hannah wears a size 7.
That's what I've always said.
Said that.
Hannah wears a size 7. But then also that's why, in addition to sort of the over-the-top nature of the military showing up, it also, like, we needed to heighten the tension to such a point that they'd be willing to go back on the ice.
Yeah.
Because as
it
opposed
makes
to them
sense.
just being able to wait it out, like the idea that they're literally going to blow it up with like a missile is so absurd, but it provides them enough motivation, or with a tank or whatever it is. I don't remember.
It's crazy. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's a very it's silly, but there's something in there. But the dialogue is the fatal flaw at the moment. Yeah. Oh, my dad points out another thing. This is good. He said, I like the skates idea. Janet, in parentheses, very pregnant, slides gracefully across the ice.
I thought about it a couple times. Actually, when we wrote the script, I thought this script could not have been written by two dudes. No idea what it was pregnant.
Also, at the end,
yeah, that was
where she walks out on the pond. My immediate thought was, she's pregnant. Don't walk out on that pond.
Which we did talk about the cliffhanger ending. The idea that they
the idea that the Zomboni's still alive, like because that's almost the ultimate 80s horror movie cliche, is bringing your villain back in the last 5 seconds of the movie.
For a sequel.
This time it's out on a frozen lake.
Zomboni 2: A Day at the Zoo.
Which
it makes its way onto an NHL.
The Penguins.
The Penguins.
Let's not convince ourselves that's a good idea. So there's a running joke in our group that any movie, the sequel is always blank to A Day at the Zoo. I couldn't explain how it got started, but it makes all of us laugh. So something, and what could have? How could you have a whole movie at a zoo? Kevin James answered that question. You can't.
That Matt
Our,
proved
the,
in our favor.
the zookeeper. That's true. If you buy the zoo yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so off track. There was something I wanted to say. So I wanted to find a way to pay homage to that idea of the bad guy sort of coming to life at the last second, but not make it like scary or aggressive. So the ice being smooth at the end versus the beginning, obviously somehow the Zomboni's gotten there, but it's a much like gentler ending, and there's something like so peaceful about that that I really like.
In a nice way.
Exactly.
In a fun way.
Exactly. So yeah, that's Zomboni.
Well done.
Yes.
I look forward to when it's made.
Yeah, I want to do it. So we'll see. We'll see.
I like that it's in Michigan.
Yeah.
Any good
That on it from the beginning, that very quickly was
Slapneck.
that is a real town.
I love it.
I
Slapneck,
knew I
Michigan.
wanted to put it in Michigan. Michigan, it's cold up there.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys like hockey?
Oh well, there's an ice rink right down the road.
I was about to say, I felt like there was something about Michigan that really called out to me, and then I think I literally Googled funniest Michigan town name, like because I wanted to be in a small town, and when I saw Slapneck, I'm like, that doesn't even make me laugh. I just think that's a cool name for a city.
Well, it sounds like a hockey town.
Exactly. So that suited my purposes very, very nicely.
Very good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, super well done, man. How long do you envision from the accident to the time frame? Like the time.
So I mean, it's 8 months
Is
ish.
so there's like would it be an anniversary date of his death, or would it be like?
No, she's just she's getting close to giving birth, obviously. So does everybody pick up on everyone picks up on the fact that Gary's the dad, right? Like is that apparent?
That was a question.
Yeah.
In the script, I don't know if it's clear.
It's not as clear as it should be.
But I mean,
we should have gotten a tattoo on his forehead that said
I am the father.
Exactly. Gary Parrish, you are the father.
One of those, yeah.
So okay, that's one thing that needs to be maybe a little bit more clear. So this is kind of how the timeline goes in my head. She and Gary were seeing each other. Benji dies, and that kind of spells the end of their relationship. Like sort of all the grief from that sort of puts a damper on whatever was going on there. But she's pregnant, so at some point that happened, and so I mean, it's 7 or 8 months after, probably.
If we wanted to skate, it could be 5 months.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea that it could be a year after, like it could be set on the anniversary date or whatever.
Yeah,
but I mean that could be a little cliche.
The skating hour instead of the witching hour. Is that something?
The witch. Please tell me that's something.
Open skate.
I will tell you, I do have an alternate title for the movie.
You do?
Because
I don't.
Zamboni is a brand name.
Oh, that's right.
And so there is a question of whether you could legally call a movie Zomboni.
So are those machines then? What are those machines? Are they just
that is called an ice resurfacer.
Oh,
not roll off the tongue.
Exactly, it's not. So Zamboni is like Kleenex and tissue.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that.
I don't remember.
The alternate title is Rink of Destruction, which I think is actually a pretty baller name.
That's what the sequel. That would be the colon for the sequel, by the way. Zomboni :
to Rink of Destruction. I actually really like Rink of Destruction as well. It's sufficiently melodramatic as a title, and I think brink of destruction is a phrase, right? Like on the brink of destruction.
I didn't think of it when you said it, but yes.
So it's
It
a
is.
pun. It is a
Yeah.
pun at the same time. So yeah, so that's interesting, needing to flesh out their relationship a bit more. That makes sense. So as far as casting the movie goes,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You done this at all, Austin? I don't.
Max and I have talked about this because Gary, that is specifically written for, and we referenced Michael Rosenbaum last week as someone we invited to be. He is the person that when I was writing it, was actually picturing him. He is he's a big hockey fan, and it's just a very good part for him. So if you don't know who Michael Rosenbaum is, we talked about him last week. Another shout out to him this week. Check him out. Super good actor. And if you want to go back and watch this and picture Gary, just picture Michael Rosenbaum.
So I can't remember if I remember saying someone that I liked, and I can't remember who. I'm saying Toni Collette now, and I can't remember if I said that previously.
I mean, Toni Collette is the best ever.
Yes.
So Sam and I just watched Knives Out again. She is so amazing always.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm great with Toni Collette.
That's a good one.
That's a great choice. And I mean, Grieving Mother.
She's got that market.
We've seen that a couple times, and I mean, she's so good at it. So, yeah, Toni Collette's a terrific choice.
She can come too. I'd love for Toni Collette to join us on one of these.
Absolutely, Toni Collette, please.
Just randomly Zoom bombing, and she bombs into ours.
If she Zoom bombs right now, we're starting over, and we're gonna try the script again.
Yeah.
Max, you've been
demoted, Max.
You've been replaced.
If there was ever a time where actors would be willing to do it, it would be now.
I know. I asked Michael Rosenbaum last week, and he never responded. So I tried. Another person that I would love to see in this movie, who I'm thinking is probably playing Will, and this is once again only because I just watched Knives Out, is Michael Shannon.
Oh, yes.
Who is amazing. But I would like to see Michael Shannon really hamming it up.
Is there a room for Steve Buscemi in this movie?
I mean, the Shemster can be in anything.
Lee?
Right.
Could it be Lee?
I mean, I think he's Lee or Harold for sure.
Lee or Harold, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there's really no other major characters to cast, but General Matthews can be played by Terry O'Quinn, who played Locke on Lost.
Yep.
I mean, once again, just someone I would like to work with. I'm going to put him in there. And then all other roles will be played by my very favorite actor in the entire world, Elijah Wood. That's not a joke. He is my favorite actor. So yeah, thank you guys for indulging me in reading this. It's a bit of a different flavor than the last couple weeks.
I loved it. It was great.
It's like
I enjoy giving different genres. I like it.
Yeah, and I think we have some exciting things coming up. I don't want to say too much. We're putting something together right now that would be all I'll say is you'd be seeing a lot more people on the screen, and if you're friends of ours, you might find it exciting. So
and only if we're friends, and only might.
And only might. There's another very specific prerequisite, but we'll talk about that later once that is set in stone. I don't want to say something then have it not happen. But we'll be back next week with another script. We haven't decided what it is yet, but I like the idea that we can sort of jump back and forth. I think I had my head in this zone where we could only do like super silly comedy stuff. But I think there's probably room to just read some scripts we've written that are maybe a little more serious.
For sure.
So we'll see.
Need to
Boys,
work
thank
my
you.
acting chops.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I'm very committed to when we have to having some actresses on to play female characters. I think Max is the best, but I think
Love to
I
next
think
level.
Janet was done a mild disservice by any of us playing her. So thank you everyone who tuned in to Quarren Screenplays. We will be back next week. And until then, if you leave your house, please wear a mask. Wash your hands, stay inside as much as you can. And if you're someone who can't stay inside because you are an essential worker, thank you for all you do. Stay safe. We'll see you guys later.